Hello and welcome to this edition of Berkshire Now News Magazine, where we explore news and views from around the Berkshires. This week we explore a little of the homeless situation in Pittsfield. This year the situation is complicated by the social distancing requirements of the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, shelters can accommodate fewer people because of the increased distances required to maintain a safe environment. There are many impromptu homeless camps scattered around the county. There are at least 6 in the Pittsfield area. There are many advocates who volunteer their time and talents to help the homeless to not only survive, but to also help them find housing. There are also many professional staff members that are providing assistance wherever they can. Among these are ServiceNet and RLC. We were able to interview 3 women who are involved in such activities at Springside Park. You will notice an audible beep here and there throughout the interviews. This is not because an inappropriate word was spoken, but because the name of a homeless person was referred to. And out of respect for that person, we beeped out their name. Kathy, tell us a little bit about what you do here with the homeless in Springside Park.
Okay, it's been about 3 months now. I've been down here every single day. I drive someone to treatment and back. I take them where they need to go, gas in the generator, just to be a moral support for them and to keep a head count in case anything happens with the cold nights.
You mentioned there's a generator?
Yes, and have a generator up here that's gasoline powered, and every once in a while the generator needs gas, so they have to come down and go out with me to get gas. So
do they share the generator output with other people with extension cords, or is it sort of a community kitchen area?
Community kitchen area, I think. I haven't been to their camp. I've never seen their camp. They treat that as a respect. It's their house. They've been inviting me in, but I've had no reason to go in. That's basically it with them.
Okay. Now, I understand that there's been some issues with people being here and whatnot, and some of that's being resolved because I understand quite a few people are now being placed in shelters.
Absolutely not. That is a lie.
That is
a lie.
True. Okay.
Yeah. Couch surfing doesn't count as a home. When the money runs out, they're right back out here.
Right.
So it's not being told the truth. The tents that are being taken down are by us, not by Parks and Rec.
And why are you taking them down?
These 2 up here had heroin in them, and heroin and needles.
Ah.
So we are taking them down. Derek, who unfortunately killed himself, I went and removed his tent halfway down to the service trail. There's another tent up there, but that can stay for right now. I mean, we're just trying to set the record straight here. The city wants these people gone. These people aren't going anywhere until they get housing. They have to get IDs, Social Security cards, birth certificates to get into housing. These ladies behind me are helping me do that. They're moving the process. Sergio from ServiceNet is doing the work. He's doing the work of about 4 people and getting the IDs and housing and stuff. Again, you know, I don't want to spar with the city, but I disagree with them when I'm out here every day and I'm not seeing them once.
Right.
And it's a shame that they all could go to Derek's funeral or Derek's party. And I seen Helen Moon, Aaron Furbridge, a lot of people, but they can't come out here and see our homeless. And this is where it happened. This is right here is what should take precedence.
Now, are there medical issues that happen here other than
Oh,
Derek
yeah.
suicide.
I come out and do the medical for up the hill, and for anybody else that needs it. There's been a couple others that have already healed up. And they say the station is down there, the mobile station. I took today, it's only open on Mondays 12 to 4. That does us no good. When you have everyday bandaging that you have to have done.
So when you say mobile station, you're not talking about a gas station, you're talking about a medical...
A mobile CHP medical van is what I believe it is down there. Next, Tyler Street, Fire Station on Tyler Street, the old fire station.
Oh, by the cone place there.
Yes.
Got it. So is that there every day?
No, it's only there on Mondays, 12 to 4.
12 to 4, and so it's not just for the homeless, and it's for the entire community, probably.
For the entire community.
Right, but the homeless take advantage of that.
Yes, I take them down once a week. Sergio took him last week, I took him this week, just to see what they were going to do.
How many homeless are living in Springside Park, do you think?
We have 20 to 30 people on any given day.
By any given day, that says that there's some fluidity and people moving in and out?
Yes, they go, they serve couches, they run out of money, they come back.
I see.
So it's a ever-changing environment. There are at least 20 people here every day.
At least 20 people every day. Now, do they all have tents?
Yes.
And where do they get the tents? If they run out of money...
RLC has taken up a GoFundMe for the amount of money that it was, and is struggling. In fact, I would like to plug that right here.
Please do.
RLC needs funding, and any donations, any amount of donations. So I'm very upset that our city has really abandoned these folks. They pushed them out, and now they've abandoned them.
How many of them do you think came from the St. Joe's situation?
I was told there's 10 of them that came from St. Joseph's. These others came in the park when they saw the food and the help that they were getting. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. They all came here for a reason, and it was to get housing. Because my saying is keys, not tents. Any human deserves a key, not a tent.
Yes.
And that's what I plan to do. If I got to stay out here until the middle of winter, that's what I'm going to do. I'll be out here daily, every day, till it ends.
Now, Kathy, I understand you are a nurse?
No, I've got 20 years of medical background, CNA, CMA, Director of Nursing.
Got it.
I ran an assisted living for 2.5 years, and then went criminal psych the last 5. So I have experience, and I use my skill set. I don't go above it, don't go below it.
Now, I understand that Springside Park is not the only place where the homeless are accumulating. Are you aware of any other places?
I'm aware of 2 other places, Clap Park and Cab Park, something.
Clap Park?
Clap Park and then Cab Park.
Oh, and Burbank Park, is that part of it too?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for your information. Let's pass it on to our RLC lady. Jean Marie, can you tell us a little bit about what RLC is? I understand you're with them.
Yeah, so I am the Berkshire County Coordinator for Western Mass Recovery Learning Community. We are a nonprofit organization. Everyone who is part of the organization from top down are all people with lived experiences and areas of homelessness, addictions, different traumas, psychiatric diagnoses. So we kind of cover a large spectrum. We provide peer advocacy and peer support. During the pandemic, our methods changed a little bit. We went from just doing open community hours and peer support groups to being open 6 days a week, serving lunches. We were making sandwiches, bagged lunches, bringing in donations of clothing and other items that folks needed to get by.
Now, at this particular homeless location where people are camping out, what is your task here?
So myself and the folks that work with me have been coming here to provide peer support. I have been here to back Kathy up as far as some of the first aid and medical care that's been needed. We've brought food. We've helped a lot of people do housing applications. We've helped them do their licenses, social security cards, birth certificates, which get real tricky because in order to have one, you need the others. And so most of these folks are really faced with this catch-22 situation that we've been having to help them navigate.
What's the most difficult task you have to complete to help these people?
Getting them their IDs, social security, and birth certificates. Because if you don't have your birth certificate, you don't get your ID. If you don't have your ID, you don't get your birth certificate. And if you don't have those things, you don't get housing, you don't get a job, and you end up staying in a park or on people's couches or in empty buildings.
So how common is it that they don't have either one of those?
Very common. I deal with it every day that we're open at the center, and I deal with it just about every day I stop here. I have a conversation or we talk about the next step for somebody to get those items.
Wow. How long does it normally take to get that, or does it depend on the individual and what history you can find out about them in order to secure documentation?
So it depends on a lot of different factors. I mean, for some folks who are young enough whose parents are still alive, we might be able to have a parent help get the birth certificate, but that's if they're on talking terms and good terms with family relations. It depends on whether or not you're talking about an out-of-state conversion. You're talking whether or not the license or ID that they might have had in the past has been so far expired that it's impossible. You're fighting against no offices being open to help these people, so it's being left to the advocates who are out here to help them. So, I mean, it's every situation we come across has many factors that impact it. We have seen it happen everywhere between a week, and then there's a couple of people I've been trying to help for a few months. I think that's accurate.
Do you feel at risk coming out here to help people?
I think any situation requires us to be aware of our situation and our surroundings, and safety for ourselves and for those that we're supporting.
Well, you're doing great work. Thank you so much for doing that. Ariel, what is it that you're doing here at this location to help the homeless?
So I'm supporting Kathy and helping these guys out. I have a master's degree in social work management and policy. I work in addictions and mental health. And so it's really meeting these folks out here where they're at this time and helping to navigate a path to services for those things.
Did you say you work for a particular agency?
I do. I'm employed by the Breen Center, but I am not here as a representative of the Breen Center.
So you're on here on your own?
That is correct.
Okay. And what's the most challenging thing that you face in helping these people?
I think one of the most challenging things that I am facing with people is their own feelings of worthiness and self-respect. So with homelessness and addiction comes survival skills that sometimes require people to break their own moral system or their own moral code for survival. And with that comes lower self-esteem or feelings of not being worth the services or worthy of the help. And so I think sometimes the first step is just really empowering people and making them feel worthy of the things that we're trying to offer.
Oh, I understand. Now, do you find yourself doing a lot of counseling?
In a very informal sense, yes. So again, I'm here as an advocate. I'm not here as a professional from any agency. So that is a very fine line that I have to walk in what I provide here. My goal here really when I interact with somebody is just to leave somebody feeling better than when I walked in, right? I can't change the whole world for them today, but just helping people to feel a little more human in that moment, see people for who they really are rather than the circumstance that they're in, and hopefully to impart some kind of hope that better days lie ahead. This isn't a permanent situation. That's really my goal.
We also talked with Jay Sacchetti, a vice president of ServiceNet, about their involvement in assisting the homeless and about their plans for building additional shelter facilities. We are here with Jay Sacchetti, Senior Vice President of ServiceNet. Jay, thank you so much for joining us today. I was wondering if you could tell us first a little bit about what ServiceNet is and what your area of service is, and specifically what you do here in Pittsfield.
Okay, ServiceNet is a multi-dimensional human service agency. We provide services for people with mental health, developmental disabilities in the Pittsfield, all through Franklin, Hampshire, Berkshire, and Hampden counties. We have 5 behavioral health clinics that provide therapy. My particular division of ServiceNet provides shelter, and we're the primary shelter and housing agency for individual homelessness in Franklin, Hampshire, and Berkshire County, and also for family homelessness in Franklin and Berkshire County. We also have provide recovery home and for people with addiction services. And here in Pittsfield, we have a recovery center called Berkshire Living in Recovery, and that's for people that are in early and recovery from addiction. And we also have vocational services here in the Berkshires and over in Franklin and Hampshire County, which serve people with developmental disabilities. And we have a working farm that has 80 individuals working there. We provide contracts with Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission that does job development for people who have been injured and looking for work, or people that have been out of underemployed. And those are generally the general population. So we do a lot of different things. We're a large agency. We have about 1,500 employees throughout Western Massachusetts. We've been doing the sheltering services since the early 90s, since they started. And ServiceNet has been around since the early 70s. So it's an agency that's grown over the years.
That is a very broad spectrum of services that you provide, and a broad spectrum of locations. Was that 4 counties?
Oh, yeah, across 4 counties, all of Western Mass.
Wow, that is a lot of territory to cover. How is ServiceNet funded?
We have our primary funders are Department of Mental Health, Department of Developmental Disabilities, Department of Public Health, and those are our primary funders, and private and public insurances such as Medicaid and any private insurance that through our behavioral health clinics.
I see. Now, in Pittsfield, recently there's been some movement towards building some shelters for the homeless, specifically at First United Methodist Church. Can you talk a little bit about how you got involved in that, and what your ongoing involvement with that is, please?
Yeah. Well, in 2011, the state came to us and asked us to take over the sheltering contracts in the Pittsfield area. They wanted a change in the provider, so we looked at it. We agreed to do that, but when we kind of walked into the current shelter, Barton's Crossing, we said, we could probably do better in terms of a facility. Relocating shelters in general anywhere is a difficult task and a process because they tend to be large congregate buildings. You need commercial kitchens. You need a lot of space. So in towns such as Pittsfield and Greenfield and Northampton, where we operate, that's can be a difficult, square footage and building to site and to find. And as you know, and there's a lot of community pushback about shelters. People don't like the idea of shelters being in their neighborhood. So that becomes a challenge also. But we started back in 2012, 2013, looking for a new building. And we ran into any building that had a possibility. The cost of renovation was extremely high. Could run in $1.5 million to $2 million. And homeless programs are really underfunded. Our budget wouldn't support that kind of rehab in a building. So you keep looking for a partner. And eventually, the Reverend Howe from First United Methodist Church called me up and he said, we've got a wing here. I want you to take a look at it. So we went over, we took a look. We said, 2 floors. It was handicapped accessible. It had the elevator, and it was 3/4 of the way already there. It needed a sprinkler system and some very minimal demolition to create kind of a barrack style shelter, which we favor because they're easier to supervise. And, Barton's is an unwieldy building, a lot of nooks and crannies and corners and single rooms there. So that kind of fit it. And the cost of renovating it was minimal compared to, the other sites that we had, attempted to secure. So, and it also helped the church. So that partnership between the church and ServiceNet benefited both agencies. They were concerned about keeping the doors open in their building. We were concerned about having a shelter that wasn't, a couple miles out of downtown. And it just seemed to work for both parties involved.
It certainly is right in the middle of downtown, isn't it?
It is. It is. We operate shelters in downtown in both Greenfield and Northampton that have been there for long periods of time. And we operate those efficiently and safely, and it works for the community, and community is accepting of it. And, we really have minimal amount of issues.
I would imagine that the people in the shelter would appreciate it being downtown as well, because so many of the services that they need are very easily walked to.
Right. You have, places, services that they would get around, some of the funding streams like rental assistance for people that are available statewide are just on the next block over. The other issue that out of Barton's is transportation. There's a lot of people that would work, but they can't get to the jobs. Being near the downtown intertransmodal center is a huge benefit to people. They can get to a bus very easily, and it would give them more of an opportunity to find work in and around, the Pittsfield area. So that could benefit, so it just works for them. And many times, like what happens if a case manager talks to somebody that's up at Barton's, by the time they start walking or they leave Barton's, if they have money for a bus, they kind of miss that connection with that case manager between there and coming down to our office. And it's located on North Street also.
Now, one of the questions I wanted to know is what kind of pushback did you get from the community, if any?
Well, I mean, we had, as you have probably read, that the special permit for the shelter is 2 years in length. And, in that time, the downtown Pittsfield Incorporated, the business group, is going to continue to look for an alternate site because they feel that that's not an appropriate place for it. So, you know, we still are in somewhat of an unsettled situation. And so, you know, we'll see what the future holds, you know, and see what direction that moves in. But we've had tremendous support in the community. You know, well over 1,000 people signed a petition. We received a lot of feedback from a lot of different constituencies that they believe a downtown is for everyone, as we do. And you know, our evidence is that it does work for everybody because we do operate in downtowns and other areas. So I think people get very fearful that, you know, bad things are going to happen. And it's been, you know, through my course of my career, I've been through many of these. I've been part of a generation that has built the human service system in the state of Massachusetts. I was there before it kind of didn't exist. And, you know, we built those services over many years. And anytime we've cited a group home or those kinds of things in the community, we get that kind of fear factor. And then we just kind of blend into the community like any other, you know, neighbor would or neighborhood. So I've seen that happen over and over again. So, and, you know, I'm not, you know, and so that's how people feel. And it's not something that I haven't ever run across before. It's been pretty consistent throughout my career.
I understand. When do you expect construction to be done and people being ready to be moved into First United Methodist Church?
Well, we had started construction that was held up because of the delays in the securing of the special permit. So it put us behind. We have secured probably about 2/3 of the funding for it, and this held up our fundraising for the last dollars needed. So that construction is starting, and you know, our hope would be to have something ready for the winter, but you know, we'll have to see what the contractor, we fit into a window with him, and we have to see where they're at and kind of try to, you know, reload and come back around and get that thing ready to go. So I'm not really sure because we haven't had a construction meeting yet. So we'll be finding that out in the next week or so.
I understand. Well, Jay, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you filling us in on what's happening there, and we look forward to being able to see these people in shelters long before the winter comes, we hope. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
As you can see, there are many issues involved in homelessness. I like what Kathy Austin said. Every person deserves a key and not a tent. A key to your own home is something most of us take for granted. Perhaps we should all be more involved in providing solutions to this problem. Until next time, stay safe and stay strong.